Everything changes in July as the planet of revolution, Uranus, leaves Taurus and enters Gemini, making a shift for the first time since 2018. Time to break away from the old, innovate, and seek freedom. Let's go for a deeper dive and break down the most important transits for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, predictive astrocartography, and electional readings. If you need help, my services are here. I'm always happy to help you. I also really appreciate when you leave me likes and comments, subscribe, press the notification bell, watch more of my content. All of those little steps really help the algorithm push my content in front of a larger audience, helps me grow. Thank you for that. If you want to show your support in an additional way, you can also say thank you by buying me a tea, a coffee, a croissant, any token of appreciation I am thankful for. For all of the readings that I do, if you have personal questions, these videos tend to be more general because they're based on the rising signs. For personal consultations, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. Natal chart is always a great start. Solar return, best reading to do around your birthday, year ahead. Predictive reading at any point in time. There's relationship, astrocartography, and other kinds of readings. People actually ask me sometimes they don't see the astrocartography option on my website, so I just suggest booking an express reading or a natal chart reading and just specifying that this is what you want. So peruse my website for all of those things. You can also register for my Natal Astrology Blueprint of the Soul course. Astrology changed my life. It opened my eyes. I feel like I've always been interested, but when I started learning it, there was so much joy from self-discovery, and I feel like I'm more aligned with my purpose. So if you'd like to feel the same way, join me and other students. The classes begin in September. You can register today. Highly recommend some remedies for the month. This is my Exalted Moon candle. It captures the moon in Taurus, the sign of stability, groundedness, really good for manifestation. People born with the moon in Taurus tend to be the best at manifesting. So if you'd like to soothe yourself and create more comfort in your life in this changing year we're in, especially in July, Uranus is transiting and entering Gemini, which can be very intellectually stimulating, but potentially disruptive and anxiety inducing. Exalted Moon in Taurus is a perfect fit, as well as Moon in Cancer could be really good at this point in time. This is the Moon in Cancer. They both look the same, but they smell differently. Exalted Moon smells like clean cotton, and Moon in Cancer smells like moonflower nectar. Moon candles are especially good for those born with the moon in Capricorn or Scorpio. So thank you for listening to that. Let's talk about July. First, I like to do the breakdown of all of the big events, kind of giving you clues on what to watch out for, and then we will go sign by sign. These are general horoscopes. If you want a personal horoscope that is tailored to your chart, you can pick up a horoscope subscription also on my website. So July, first transits of July are happening on July 4th, Independence Day in the USA. We have Venus conjoining Uranus, which is an eye-opening, revelational. Of course, you got to give it 3 days on each side. It could be the time of breakthroughs in relationships, innovation, experimentation, in fashion, in your skincare, in your creative self-expression. It could also bring breakdowns of the structures, styles, projects, relationships that are not quite working. But if you're open to change, if you actually invite change and become proactive about it, it could be a really eye-opening, exciting transit. On the same day, we also have Venus entering Gemini until July 30th. Venus in Gemini is flirtatious, playful, curious, chatty, a little detached, right? Good at getting along with everyone, maybe a little fickle and indecisive. So you will benefit from, I think, the skills of the tongue. Take it whichever way you want to take it. But it could be like really good for, you know, dirty talk, sexting, things like that. And creatively, Gemini is a sign that is very innovative. So I think creatively you may feel really inspired. Neptune goes retrograde on July 4th as well. And until December 10th, 2025, it will make you examine your dreams and realize which ones are worth pursuing versus which ones are maybe illusions and deceptive and ungrounded. This will be especially important for people who have planets between 27, 29 mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Gemini, and between 0 and 4 degrees cardinals, which are our Cancer, Capricorn, Libra, and Aries, because Neptune retrogrades from about 2 degrees Aries back into 29 degrees Pisces. So if you have planets in those degrees, you're getting one final round of Neptunian aspects. July 6th brings a couple of lovely aspects as Venus connects with Saturn and Neptune via sextile. So this feels very soothing, very good for making amends, compromising, thinking about the future, dreaming about the future, but also having the structure necessary to make things happen. So really good for creative projects, for relationships, for commitment to something, even negotiation, signing contracts. I would like this for that. July 7th, the biggest transit of July, Uranus enters Gemini. So this year, Uranus only gives us a preview in Gemini. It only stays for 4 months from July 7th until November 7th. But then next year, it's going to enter for, let me tell you exactly when. I believe it's like 6 years. So yeah, it comes back in April 2026 and then stays until 2032, 2033. So a really big change. Uranus in Gemini seems quite comfortable, right? Uranus likes change. Gemini is the air sign. It is all about new ideas. You can think of it as like Gemini is ruled by Mercury and Uranus is the higher vibration of Mercury. Mercury is the planet of the mind. Uranus is the planet of brilliance and innovation, revolution, and change. So you will become more interested in making changes and innovating, especially projects of the mind. We may see major developments on social media, in the news, related to AI. Uranus in Gemini is very compatible with Pluto being in Aquarius. In fact, the two will be sextiling one another. So there is like a really powerful ability to speak and express ourselves and use technology for our advantage and use technology and even like our knowledge to the best of the community. It's not just the change for the sake of change. And actually, you know, you gotta watch out here that you're not like getting too chaotic and too sort of many ideas, pursuing too many things, because again, Gemini can be quite a chatty sign and Uranus can like raise the volume on the ideas and insights and sharing and communication and all of that. So it could be great, but you gotta manage the levels. Venus also trines Pluto on July 7th, which induces deep passion. Great for new relationships. If you meet someone at this point and you start a relationship, it is more likely to be sparky and passionate and sort of deep, right? Can also be great for creative pursuits, creative projects. On July 10th, we have a full moon at 18 degrees 49 minutes Capricorn, which completes the chapter started with the new moon in Capricorn at the end of December 2024. This is the time when we are called to focus on duties and responsibilities and maybe prioritize our boundaries and our long-term projects. So full moon always happens in the sign. It happens during the season that's opposite to the sign of the full moon, right? So we are at this point in Cancer season. The feelings are big, the emotions. It's all about, you know, other people and connection and sensitivity and compassion. And so the full moon in Capricorn tells you like, you got to get some things done. You got to focus on taking care of business so that perhaps you can allow yourself to feel the feelings and be more emotional. July 13th, Saturn goes retrograde. So Neptune went retrograde. Now Saturn, between July 13th and November 27th, it moves backwards from, again, about 2 degrees Aries to 25 degrees Pisces. So this is similarly important for people with 0 degrees to 3 degrees Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, and Libra. And about 23, 29 degrees mutable signs, Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius. It is the final, it's going to be, well, actually second round of Saturn aspecting your planets in those degrees. And then one last one will happen when Saturn stations direct after November 27th. When Saturn goes retrograde, we are moving to inner transformation, inner review, let's say. Saturn going direct is like a construction site. You're building something. Your supplies are coming in, you're working, things are going up. Saturn going retrograde, something stops working, something breaks down. You are forced to sit in a quiet time and rethink your boundaries, your structures, your plans. Things that you've been pursuing ever since Saturn even entered Aries on May 24th may need to be redone. Maybe you've jumped into something really fast. You said yes to something. You committed to something. So now you're like, okay, was I too rough, too rushed with it? And of course, you have to look at the houses that are Aries and Pisces in your chart. And, you know, if you want like a personal breakdown, if you have planets in those degrees, pick up my horoscope subscription for a personal analysis. On July 18th, Mercury goes retrograde. So it's a retrograde gala. I'm even wearing a red dress for you because Mercury goes retrograde in Leo. Saturn and Neptune go retrograde in Aries. It's all fire, fire, fire. So Mercury is retrograding from 15 degrees into 4 degrees Leo. Especially important if you have planets in those degrees, between 4 and 15 Leo, also potentially Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio, other fixed signs. The retrograde lasts until August 11th. The usual Mercury retrograde energy applies. Watch out for making rash decisions. Double check everything, get additional batteries. Make sure you're not sending text messages to people you shouldn't be sending messages to. Watch out for getting together with your ex. Do not act out of just, you know, it's the retrograde in Leo, and Venus is ruled by Mercury being retrograde in Leo. So your need for attention will be really strong. Your desire for compliments will be really strong. So you have to watch out that you're not putting yourself in situations just for the sake of attention that will be, in the long run, not good for you. Mercury also sextiles Venus on July 11th, powerful for writing, speech, public speaking, going on dates, asking people out. You're charismatic, eloquent in your speech and writing, really good for like even making sales or buying things. You can potentially bargain and get a good deal, networking, business, and things like that. On July 22nd, the sun enters Leo. Leo season begins until August 22nd. You crave the spotlight. You want to be authentic. You want to be truthful. Join my course. We will be talking a lot about being true to yourself, taking action in your life to be more aligned with the planets. But it's a season of expressing yourself and being visible and shining, right? And like doing things that are true to you, but also being generous with others, making sure that your work helps other people. On July 23rd, the sun sextiles Uranus. So the sun begins to aspect our newly ingressed outer planets. The sun sextile Uranus could bring insights, breakthroughs, opportunities to innovate. Could be good for being visible, making art, speaking on social media, changing your style, changing your look. Simultaneously, on July 23rd, Venus also squares Mars. This could be tricky. 3 days before, 3 days after the planet of women, femininity is squaring the planet of men and masculinity, right? So conflicts between men and women, conflicts between feminine and masculine side of your personality, friction between being receptive versus being aggressive and going. In a healthy relationship, in a healthy partnership, this could be an opportunity to sort of move through it and figure things out, have like a little bit of like competitive debate or something like that. In an unhealthy relationship, it will reveal underlying tensions and friction, and maybe will make you realize that it's not worth, the relationship is maybe not worth it. On July 24th, the Sun now trines Saturn and Neptune. So Venus did it, right, on July 6th. Now the Sun is doing it on July 24th. After we've had Sun sextile Uranus, maybe you've realized you want to change your style, you want to pursue a new project, you want to take on a new hobby, connect with new people. Now Saturn and Neptune are in the ring with you, and they're very much helping you be, Neptune will help you be like sensitive, compassionate, good at getting along with other people, and Saturn will help you find answers, solve problems, take steps, and gain recognition. We also have a new moon in Leo on July 24th at 2 degrees Leo. Very important if you have planets between 0 and 5 degrees. Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Taurus, fixed signs. The new moon opposes Pluto. So it does have this sort of my ego, my goals, my desires versus other people not supporting me or dealing with some kind of disagreements with other people. You may encounter frustrations, you may encounter power struggles. The best results will come from people who are not afraid to deal with strife, right? And to move through conflict and to like find opportunities to lead in the difficult time, difficult situation. If you're focusing on other people, you will succeed. This energy continues on July 25th as now the Sun exactly opposes Pluto. So you're continuing to deal with this, like maybe the shadows of desire, the shadows of your need for recognition, maybe some kind of obsessive thoughts and behaviors. And again, there's opportunities to transform here. July 30th, Chiron goes retrograde, inner healing, inner transformation, and Venus enters Cancer until August 25th. When Venus is in Cancer, we seek relationships and connections that are loving and nurturing. So we're going away from being chit-chatty, flighty, non-committal Venus and Gemini to now actually seeking commitment, seeking long-term partnerships and relationships. We may benefit from our family and our connections with our family, and we grow through emotional nurturance and supportiveness. So there's going to be like a significant vibe shift, especially because Venus now joins Jupiter. So you may notice that you're like driven to nurture your projects, to spend more time with family, to build your home in a specific way, and to kind of give and receive warm, fuzzy, cuddly type of love. If you'd like a personal breakdown, if you want to know what's coming up for you, pick up a horoscope subscription or book a personal reading on my website. You can also register for my course. All of that is on there, online. So let's take a look at the 12 rising signs, starting of course with a beautiful Aries rising. So if you are an Aries rising in June, there was a lot of shifts, right? We had Jupiter enter your 4th house of home and family, bringing a lot of attention to growth in the home, just starting a family, to moving. Maybe you've experienced some blessings when it comes to family. We had like a lot of action in your 1st house of identity, Saturn and Neptune being there. You potentially had to deal with some kind of tension and delays and roadblocks, and maybe even like inner fears or responsibilities, big questions around like, who am I, right? Simultaneously as Jupiter brought blessings into your 4th house. Your chart ruler went from the house of play into the house of work, potentially encouraging you to take care of, you know, your body, your health, your money with Venus and Taurus. So in July, your chart ruler Mars is still in Virgo all month until August 6th. It's a really good place for Mars. You are hardworking, you are structured, you're better at exercising, you're better at sticking to diets, you're maybe seeing doctors, maybe you're doing work that kind of is very like detailed and analytical and good, you know, so it could be like really good for getting like, I don't know, working in the garden, building things, problem solving, both at work and at home. Jupiter, of course, continues to stay in your 4th house, still bringing blessings in the sector of home, family, living situations, still encouraging you to grow in that sector. The biggest change, the most dramatic change of the month is Uranus entering your 3rd house of Gemini. So first, Venus comes here on July 4th until the end of the month, and then Uranus comes here this year between July 7th and November 7th, but the next year coming for 6 years. This is a big shift, right? It's like sort of a light bulb being turned on in your sector of skills, hobbies, and interests. So a new passion, a new idea, a new business opportunity. I'm excited about this. I think it could be fun because it's going to be like trining Pluto in Aquarius in your 11th house. So it's almost like a new project that you're discovering is also meant to help people at large, right? Because with Pluto in the 11th, there's a strong focus on like, what is my mission? How can I take my interests and bring them to community? And like, you know, a lot of this will be personal because 3rd house is like really personal. And if you ever have like personal questions, you know, the best thing to do is to book a reading so we can talk about all of that. But you can expect the development of unusual interests. You decide to, you know, study astrology. I keep coming back to the things that I'm doing. I am teaching a course, so if you are interested in studying astrology, sign up on my website. But maybe, you know, you decide to study astrology, or you become a Reiki teacher, or you're like using AI for your business. Somehow there might be like powerful opportunities to express yourself, maybe even a chance to like write. I wonder with like Gemini, it could be like short stories, short bursts, short sort of like blogs. 3rd house also represents communication. It represents your thoughts. So Uranus can be bringing these like light bulb moments around the way you're thinking and what kind of thoughts are supportive and what kinds are not, and maybe coming up with like, I'm going to put a whole bunch of post-it notes and they will be all the different colors and they will say positive affirmations to me and I'll keep rotating them so they don't get boring. It's the house of community. So getting more involved with the community, meeting people who are Uranian, who are unorthodox, out of the box, quirky people, or becoming that person in your community where you're bringing change to your community. It is the house of siblings. It is the house of like family, like aunts, uncles, people who are sort of like extended family. So changes might be also happening in their life. Overall, I like this quite a lot. Neptune and Saturn go retrograde in your 1st house, encouraging shift in your identity, a sense of like introspection, maybe needing to pull back and ask yourself whether you've done things in the last like 3-4 months, maybe even more, that you've rushed into. And maybe there is some like inner reworking that you need to do. Amongst all that, on July 10th, we also have a full moon in Capricorn, your 10th house, which brings completion of a professional chapter, a chance to get recognition, get rewards, let something go. Maybe you've been working at a place, maybe you just started a new job and you're feeling accomplished. You're finally feeling like you're ready for the next chapter, right? Maybe you've been unhappy at a place and you decide to take a leap and actually let go of a job. Or maybe you just complete a project. But it's, again, with that Uranus in your third house, right? Like new ideas, new beginnings, new sort of exciting opportunities to do something fun. We have a lot of action in your fifth house with Leo being highlighted. Mercury is here and it goes retrograde on July 18th. And until August 11th, it will encourage you to rethink what brings you joy. So again, Uranus is in your third house. New ideas, new opportunities. What is it for you, Aries rising? What is it that you're working on and getting excited about? So Mercury in the fifth will bring this maybe initial slump, but also an opportunity to look back at your childhood, look back at your passions and ask yourself, okay, when I was a kid, I really liked drawing. Can I bring that into my life to have more fun? You may go to museums. You may reconnect with old people that inspired you. Exes might come back into your life. So this is the one where, like, be careful. Do not get together with exes that are not good for you. And amongst it all, amongst the retrograde, we get a new moon in your fifth house. It opposes Pluto in the 11th. So maybe you're dealing with disagreements with your associates, friction between you and your desire to date your ex and what your friends are telling you. There might be some kind of tension there. But the new moon, I think, is an invitation to ask, how can your gifts and interests and talents serve other people, serve the world at large? How can you bring change into the world? And if you want me to help you answer this question by looking at your personal chart, book a reading on my website, register for my course. Definitely recommend my Exalted Moon candle. It falls in your second house of money, so it could also be good financially. Speaking of finances, for you guys, Uranus is leaving your second house of money when it enters Taurus. So that's a very stabilizing and a positive shift. If you are a Taurus rising, June brought a lot of attention to your house of communication, community, skills, hobbies, business with Jupiter's entrance into Cancer. There may have been some friction between your desire to grow and expand and some heavy things, responsibilities, things outside of your control when Jupiter was squaring Saturn and Neptune. Maybe even just inner fogginess or a sense of self-doubt or some kind of unresolved trauma, wounds that you haven't fully healed that you needed to address. Mars was traveling between your fourth and fifth houses, bringing action in the home, and then later on in the house of relationships. Venus in your first house encouraged you to upgrade your style, change your look. And there could have also been some financial action with Gemini transits and the full moon in your eighth house. So in July, Venus, your chart ruler, is in Gemini, your second house of money and values, pretty much the entire month from July 4th until July 30th. This could be the time you invest. Maybe you find something you really want to buy. Venus in the second tends to give you a really good sort of sense of what to invest into. You may buy things that will grow in value over time. You're maybe spending on relationships, spending on people you love. So money might be coming and money might be going. And there's actually a very interesting shift, the everything changes type of energy as Uranus leaves your first house. Finally, right? You've been dealing with Uranus in your first house, shaking things up since 2018. How has your life changed? How has the question to who are you changed since then and now? Because that's what Uranus would have been encouraging you to do, to sort of step into your power, your independence, your authenticity. So now that you've discovered yourself, it moves on and enters Gemini. This year, only between July 7th and November 7th, but the next year for 6 years. And this suggests that as you've discovered yourself, now your values are transforming, your finances are transforming. Uranus in the second might encourage you to go after new money-making ideas. Maybe find financial opportunities that offer independence, because that's what Uranus is all about. Opportunities that involve technology, AI, science, computers, internet, metaphysics, right? Becoming more interested in astrology. Sign up for my course. It begins in September. It's a great time for you guys to dive into it and, invest into yourself. It can also be a sign of shifts, sort of rapid developments in your financial sector, right? Things coming, going, spending suddenly. So it's good to keep, make sure that you're taking calculated risks and that you have a certain amount of money set aside to keep yourself from getting stressed and sort of lost. Mars is in Virgo until August 6th. Your fifth house. Mars rules your house of relationships, so it could suggest that your partner is maybe very creative this month or very focused on children. You as well, with Mars in the fifth house, can be more sort of playful and taking care of your hobbies and passion projects. You can be more actively dating as well, or spending time with children, making children if that's what you're interested in, or, connecting with your inner child, I think. Going on fun dates is also likely, whether you are in a relationship or not. Jupiter stays in Cancer all month, your third house, so the questions of growth and expansion of your business, expansion of your hobbies and interests, maybe even investment in your community, or growing and connecting better with your siblings and your family. All of that is highlighted as well. Neptune and Saturn station retrograde. Neptune on the 4th, Saturn on the 13th of the month, and for the next 5 months or so, they will move backwards from Aries, your 12th house, into Pisces, your 11th house, suggesting some kind of need for restructuring in those areas. So you may find yourself needing to sort of sit in discomfort. 12th house is your blind spots, your self-defeating tendencies, having to realize what perhaps doesn't serve you, which bad habits you have, what kind of things you tell yourself, how you deal with difficulty and discomfort. So there could be important opportunities for self-discovery. And then as Saturn moves into your 11th, again, for the very last beat, that is about a completion of the last sort of 2.5 years, with Saturn being in your 11th house. And I think as you realize how you're standing in your own way, or what self-defeating tendencies you have, or even become more honest with yourself about what is truly interesting to you, then as Saturn and Neptune shift into your 11th house, it becomes about what are my dreams? Who are my allies? Who do I want to work with? Who do I want to be in my corner? And also maybe how do I want to use my gifts to help community and help the world? Because you are in this very interesting period right now, I think, with Uranus is entering your second house. It's trining Pluto in your 10th house of career. So there's these professional changes and public life changes, and Saturn is completing a circle through your houses, right? It's been in your 11th house, which was all about what do I want? What is the purpose? Why are we here? How can I help people? And now it's in the 12th house, which is also a very spiritual place. And then it's going to go into the first. So you're on many levels, you're gearing up for new beginnings. The full moon in Capricorn, your 9th house, on July 10th, completes the chapter started on December 30th, 2024, when we had a new moon in Capricorn. That was new beginnings, and brings change to your outlook. So something is shifting in the way you view the world, in the way you see your role in it, in the way you see the future, I think. And so the full moon in the 9th offers you a chance to be more introspective and rethink your attitudes, as well as potentially can bring change involving education, graduating, taking exams, completing a course of study, travel, writing, finishing a writing project, publishing your work, even some kind of legal matter coming full circle, coming to completion. Leo, your house of home and family, property, real estate is also busy all month. We have Mercury here. Mercury goes retrograde on July 18th and will be retrograde until August 11th. So this suggests a need to rethink something. The most obvious example would be like, let's say you were buying a home or you just bought a home and Mercury goes retrograde and you're like, oh, I haven't checked the basement. I now need to check the basement. Or like you realize that there is some kind of work that needs to be done. Mercury retrograde can also bring back old wounds and old conflicts in the family, old sort of skeletons that were hiding in the closet, and offer you a chance to rethink some of that, right? Maybe process it differently. Amongst all of that, we get the new moon in Leo on July 24th. It opposes Pluto in the 10th, suggesting a need to balance your professional life with your home life. Because while there are a lot of activations in your public houses and your sort of sectors of career, and your, I think, ambitions are very strong at this time, there is something that demands to be attended to in the home. Maybe even a need to sort of, find a therapist, talk it out, process something, heal something, create kind of more outer peace and inner peace. If you need help making sense of it all, pick up my monthly horoscope subscription to get either in-person consultations or written horoscopes sent to you every month. On my website, you can also book a reading, register for my natal astrology course. Highly recommend this exalted moon candle. It's the moon in Taurus, your first house. Could be really lovely for you. If you are a Gemini rising, in June, there was a lot of shifts with Jupiter entering Cancer, your second house of money and values, encouraging you to connect with your heart and to choose pursuits that are not just lucrative, but also fulfilling. At the same time, Saturn and Neptune in your 11th house brought restrictions, delays, responsibilities, maybe tensions with people in your network, conflicts, disagreements, prior duties that you had to fulfill before you were able to make a leap, pursue your new goals. Mars was in your 3rd and 4th houses, encouraging action when it comes to intellectual pursuits, more speech, maybe more honest communication, both with siblings, neighbors, community, and your home and family members. There was a desire to retreat with Venus in your 12th house, simultaneously with a need to be visible and to be more kind of in the spotlight with planets in your 1st house. In July, Mars continues to stay in Virgo all month, your 4th house. So you are quite involved with helping family members. You're maybe helping your mom with groceries, taking your dad to the doctors, maybe spending time with your child or making home improvements. You're both driven to spend time with family. You're also more likely to fight with them. So watch out for that challenging manifestation of Mars in the 4th house and use the energy it gives you. Jupiter is in your 2nd house. Venus joins in late July. There is still that need to grow through soul-hearted, soul-centered pursuits. If you want to magnify this energy more, my Moon in Cancer 3 candle is actually really lovely and really helpful for this. The biggest shift of the month happens when Uranus enters Gemini, entering your 1st house. So this is huge, right? Venus comes first and stays here most of July, from July 4th until July 30th, giving you this strong desire to enjoy life. Venus is about pleasure. She's about having a good time. She's with you for 3.5 weeks, right? She's sort of supportive, almost 4 weeks actually. And helps you manifest, helps you be more charming, get more compliments. You may even notice the desire to change your appearance at this point. So then Uranus enters on July 7th, 4 months this year, but then next year for 6 years, it's going to stay in your first house of identity. And this is really big. Uranus takes like 80 plus years to make a full circle. So you're not going to have that happen again unless you're like 1 or 5, right? If you live a really long life, it can happen. So Uranus in the first house is this monumental change and in your look. So for sure, there might be some kind of desire to color your hair purple, shave the half of your head, start wearing unique colors, start expressing yourself. It is also a really deep sense of freedom and having less cares in the world. Let's say you're a Leo sun or you have Leo planets and you really care about what people think of you. You really sort of, you want them to like you. Uranus in the first house will rewire your brain. It will encourage you to care less. It will harmoniously connect with Pluto in your 9th house. So windows of opportunity to be a Uranian figure. And Uranian figures are Prometheus, right? The person who broke the laws of the gods, who stole fire from the gods, brought it down to earth. So for one reason or another, you're being pushed or inspired or drawn to the role of a change maker. For some, it might be a very welcome position because you're like, I'm happy to be in this position. Let's say you've discovered some kind of new medicine and you are changing the pharmaceutical industry. Or maybe it's something less like, dramatic, but still quite empowering. So this is a really, really long transit. And with a trine to Pluto in the 9th house, I feel like for some of you, it could be about changing how you present yourself, changing your style, which is, I guess we'll put it in how you present yourself, changing your role in the world, becoming a teacher, becoming a guide, a mentor to other people. It could even involve relocating maybe. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I'm curious to hear what you think this will be for you. What is jumping at you when I'm talking about these? Like, what's your gut feeling, Gemini rising? Please share. Neptune and Saturn go retrograde in Aries and move from your 11th house into your 10th house for the next 4 or 5 months. So Neptune begins its retrograde on July 4th, Saturn on the 13th of the month. And here you are rethinking your relationships. Because the retrograde begins in the 11th, goes into the 10th, there is this question of like, who's supporting me on my new professional path? Who can I rely? Who can I trust? There may be this sort of inner need to set better boundaries, to maybe revisit some relationships, even discuss some matters from the past that you haven't addressed, that they're still sort of like weighing heavy on your mind. You may notice that in the last few months, you maybe had set sail towards a new land. And now that the Neptune and Saturn go retrogrades, you have to turn back, right? You have to go retrieve some scroll. I don't know why. Those are the associations that come into my mind. But like something in the new dream, new pursuit, like a group that you joined, some kind of project that you've been thinking of starting needs to be fine-tuned. And it might be because like your old job needs you, or there is some kind of problem that requires your attention. The full moon in Capricorn on July 10th offers you a chance to pay off debts, to close some karmic agreements, to tear up the old contracts, spoken or unspoken, and to find more, I think, healing and peace. It's also a completion of the chapter started on December 30th, 2024 with the new moon in Capricorn. So reflect on that. And be ready to have honest conversations to figure out financial and interpersonal agreements and dependencies. Mercury is in Leo, your 3rd house of communication, siblings, skills, hobbies. Very stimulating, However, it does go retrograde on July 18th, and until August 11th, it will encourage you to rethink how you communicate with others and with yourself. Discuss some things you haven't addressed with your siblings. Again, it's a very sort of like Saturn and Neptune are retrograding in your house of friendships. Mercury is retrograding in your third house of communication. What are you not saying, Gemini? You are the chattiest of them all. So maybe it's time for you to clear the air, to talk to a friend about something. Like if they're behaving in a way that is unpleasant to you, just talk it out. The retrograde in the third can bring up old issues. It can test your technology and test your lamps and batteries. So make sure you have extra. There's a new moon in the midst of it all in Leo on July 24th in opposition to Pluto in the 9th, making you ask yourself how you can use your knowledge and your skills and your sparkly communicative personality to improve the world around you. There may be friction between your perfect vision and your ego and how you see things being and the opinions of other people, your mentors, your teachers, your guides. Other people might feel repressive and frustrating and sort of trying to direct you a certain way. Try to not be reactive. Try to listen. Try to look for opportunities to transform and improve things. Highly recommend Moon in Cancer 3. Good for your finances, good for your peace of mind, improves fertility, boosts peace and comfort. Find it on my website. And if you want a personal reading every month, you can get a horoscope subscription with me. You can also register for my natal astrology course. It begins in September, or book a personal reading. All of that is on there. For the beautiful Cancer rising, June could have brought a lot of important shifts. It highlighted your desire for growth and maybe new lands that you were excited about. Jupiter went into your first house, encouraging you to dream big, to follow goals that involve teaching, speaking, guiding, empowering other people. However, they also squared Saturn and Neptune. Jupiter, it squared Saturn and Neptune in your 10th house. So simultaneously, there could have been some kind of constriction, restriction involving your career. I know at least a couple of Cancer risings. One of them quit her job. Another one ended up being partially laid off. If you're here, it's going to be okay. It's going to work out. But there's been some difficult things, right? It's all about growth. And I think with like Jupiter and Saturn, it's about like, how do you manage the growth in a restricted type of situation? Like still growing, but maybe being thoughtful about it. Mars highlighted your second house of personal finances and values, your third house of skills, hobbies, and interests, maybe encouraging you to invest into something new. Venus activated your house of friendships, bringing pleasant experiences with friends, trips, connections, maybe just more supportiveness and more like happy energy. And let's see, and there was also like a need to kind of balance your physical health with your mental health, I think, with Gemini and Sagittarius transits. So in July, Mars, the planet of action, spends the entire month in Virgo, your third house. This is a very like fast transit. It's also stimulating for your mind. I like Mars in the third house because I find that my mind is just it moves really powerfully. So keep a notebook next to your bed. Write down your ideas. It could be really great, like if you're a creative individual. It will also give you the assertiveness, the energy to take care of business. Watch out for driving too fast, and watch out for conflicts with like siblings or people in your network, because Mars is more likely to make you like, no, you didn't. Don't you dare talk to me like that. Jupiter stays in your first house all month. It's now free from Saturn, so hopefully it begins to boost your optimism and encourage you to pursue new projects. Highly recommend you guys joining my natal astrology course, because if there was ever time, now is the time to do it. Venus enters your 12th house, Gemini, and stays there most of the month between July 4th and July 30th. And of course, the biggest shift that happens this month, and one of the biggest shifts of the year, is Uranus entering Gemini, your 12th house. So Venus comes first, and she maybe calls you to like step back, retreat, reconnect with yourself. Or she urges you to change the scenery, go somewhere else, right? Uranus comes in and it's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's move. You were like, wait. I thought I'm just going to go on a trip. But Uranus is like, no, what about living a nomad life? What about buying a bus and traveling the states or something like that? So Uranus will, on many ways, so this year it's only 4 months, right? From July 7th until November 7th. But the next year it begins its 6-year-long transit, maybe even 7. I think it might be staying in Gemini until 2033, all things considered. But it's this opportunity to break away from everything that is unhealthy and self-defeating. And a lot of it is the things that we do to ourselves, right? Most of the times, who's the most self-defeating? It's most likely you, right? Being negative with yourself or doubtful or fearful, listening to that voice that tells you no, no, no. So Uranus will offer you a chance to like, it will bring the sweet release of, not death, good sort of cutting all the bad stuff out. So it can encourage you to do that. It can encourage you to break away from the old, be that through moving or through connecting with like new skills, new interests. 12th house is very spiritual, very much about like energy work, healing, astrology, tarot. It's classically been the house. So again, join my course. It's been always considered the house of like hospitals, prisons, mental asylums. So choosing pursuits that put you in touch with those people and like make you into like this light bulb person, Uranus, right? Someone who like turns the light on for other people. So it could be really great. And then in the future, Uranus will also trine Pluto in your 8th house. So very strong like healing, spiritual, mental health, empowering other people type of energies here. Neptune and Saturn go retrograde in Aries, your 10th house. Neptune on the 4th, Saturn on the 13th of the month. And for the next 5 months or so, they will encourage you to rethink your public life, your career, status, reputation. And as they leave Aries and return to Pisces, there might also be like a bigger question around what my goals are, what my philosophy in the world is, how do I need to change my way of thinking in order to better match who I'm trying to be in public. What do I need to do? Like, you know, for some, it might be about some kind of work adjustment and having to go back to the old position. For others, there might be a need to redo some kind of legal agreement. Maybe you're a lawyer and you're literally going over some old documents, or you're reapplying for a visa, reapplying for school that you didn't get into. Because sometimes Saturn is not like, no, it's just not yet at times. So reviewing your beliefs, maybe going back to get some education, all of that, and like redoing some legal matters, even traveling back somewhere where you can maybe be happier and find better work situations. All of that is likely. And please share, like, what has June brought into your life? Did it bring these kind of heavy questions around work and future? The full moon in Capricorn, your 7th house, brings completion to the sector of relationships. We had a new moon in Capricorn on December 30th. That would have been all about new beginnings. Now there is a sense of shift. So if you started dating, maybe you commit to a relationship, make it official. If you've been in a relationship that doesn't make you happy, maybe you get out of that one. If you've been negotiating some kind of agreement, this could be the time that you sign the contract. Or let's say it could even be like your lease or your mortgage, right? And there's just a sense that, okay, it's ran its course and I'm ready to free myself and go in new directions. Also, needing better boundaries, speaking up in relationships of all kinds is highlighted. Mercury spends the month in Leo, your second house of money and values, and it goes retrograde on July 18th. And until August 11th, it will encourage you to review financial matters. So this is often the time when you're having to spend some money that you just made and you were excited about them, and now you have to spend it, or you buy something and you have to return it, right? So the entire month of July, be careful with your spendings, even the first 11 days of August. A great time to pay off some debts, to renegotiate some maybe payments, to get rid of some subscriptions that are not, let's say you have like a Hulu account and you're not watching it. So it could be a great chance to let that one go. The new moon on July 24th opposes Pluto in your 8th house, highlighting a need to balance your personal priorities and values with those of others. Maybe offers you a chance to sever some connections or have some conversations. Again, pay off some debts, release some karmic obligations, and through that find more like fairness and balance and trust in relationships and in your life. I highly recommend my Moon in Cancer 3 candle for you guys. You are Cancer risings. This is Moon in rulership, so it's very soothing, relaxing. It's my favorite. I think it really is, because like I would go for Moon in Cancer in any kind of state of like stress. And I'm planning to make a few more like Jupiter Moon candles soon, so that's going to be fun. Pick it up on my website. You can also book a personal reading, get a horoscope subscription, or register for my natal astrology course. All of that is on there. For the beautiful Leo rising, in June, we've had maybe some soul searching, some desire to escape, get away, connect with your spiritual self with Jupiter entering Cancer. However, you may have run into restrictions, frustrations, inner self-doubt, maybe some legal matters, travel issues, other kind of delays represented by Saturn and Neptune and Aries squaring. Jupiter in Cancer, Mars was in Leo and entered Virgo later in the month, encouraging you to take action, to be more assertive, to maybe even like fight for some personal battles, and then later take care of your finances. Venus was blessing your professional sector, offering opportunities to enjoy your work life a little bit more, maybe date someone you were working with. And then planets in Gemini and the full moon in Sagittarius also highlighted your social and personal houses. So maybe opportunities to date, as I mentioned, take on some group projects, connect with friends, and find your tribe, your community. In July, Mars spends the entire month in Virgo, your second house, stays here until August 6th. Mars in the second tends to be a really fast turnaround financially. You are spending more, you're making more, right? You just made a bunch of money, now you're spending it, and then you're making a little bit more. So like it's likely that you will figure out how to make money, but the ruler of Virgo will go retrograde later in the month, so maybe be careful. It's a really good transit for entrepreneurs, people who work for themselves, because it gives you this like assertiveness, courage. You may also find yourself fighting for people's money or fighting with people for money. So that's the one also to be careful with. Jupiter is in Cancer now all the way until June 30th, 2026. Blessing your mental health. It's actually quite lovely for healing. So if there's any unprocessed wounds, old trauma, anything you need to address, Jupiter in Cancer will bring a guiding energy, like a protective energy, a lot of like blessings in disguise. Even gifts from people you didn't expect to support you are likely. But ultimately, it really wants you to go into your blind spots and do some healing, wipe off all the dust, or find things that are close to heart and discover yourself through travel, retreats, spirituality. Join my natal astrology course. What a better time to do it with Jupiter now in your 12th house and you're doing this self-discovery. You can register at anastasiadoesastrology.com. So on July 4th, Venus enters Gemini, and until July 30th, she will be in your 11th house, encouraging you to network, connect with friends, date friends, start projects with friends, follow new dreams. What's even more important is that on July 7th, for the next 4 months, Uranus is entering Gemini, your 11th house. So this year, only 4 months. Next year, for 6 years. Almost 7 years, right? I'm gonna check it, but I'm pretty sure Uranus stays in Gemini until 2033. Yeah, 2033. So like 7 years, because it's like all the way through 2032, but then it does the back and forward dance a little bit. So this is really, really important, right? Uranus, the planet of change, revolution, innovation, freedom, goes in your 11th house of community, friendships, networks, meeting people who are Uranian, or becoming a Uranian person comes to mind right away. So your social network might open up to include weirdos or quirky people, unique people, people of unconventional backgrounds, unconventional beliefs, things like that. So your social circle is changing. I'm also thinking of like some of you maybe deciding to open up your romantic relationship because of the Uranus in the 11th trining Pluto in your 7th house in the next couple of years. But maybe also becoming a Uranian character in your friendship circle. So like you become the revolutionary, you start a YouTube channel talking about your trauma and your friends are like, we would never, and you're like, yeah, but I feel like it's important, or something like that, or guiding people, right? Becoming like opening a business that maybe helps female queer entrepreneurs and specifically like, you know, empowers those that need you and your guidance. So it could be like really fun new dreams that involve science, technology, computers, AI, aliens, crystals, astrology. It's like a powerful, eye-opening transit, I think. And like you will not care much about what people think of you, I think, because it's like also harmoniously aspecting your ascendant. So it lets your Leo light shine unapologetically. I love it. And let me know if you're already thinking of like what this could be for you. And if you ever need help with figuring it out for you personally, book a reading on my website. We can talk it out and massage it a little bit. Neptune and Saturn go retrograde this month in your 9th house, moving from Aries into Pisces. Neptune on the 4th, Saturn on the 13th of the month for like the next, until late November or December. So this suggests that if you've been looking at education, if you've been thinking of travel, maybe you even moved, maybe you've been writing something, when those planets go retrograde, you're having to redo some of the work, you're having to rethink some of the things. With the 9th house, we're talking about our philosophical, spiritual beliefs, our overall sort of life attitude. So with Saturn here, questions of misfortune and life being difficult may need to be addressed. You may also need to rediscover your spiritual core and find people, find religions or philosophical beliefs that are supportive of you. As the planets shift from the 9th into the 8th, there also feels like some kind of agreements, debts, student loans, or some kind of financial matters that still require your attention for the very last time, because then Saturn and Neptune move on for good, but still something that you perhaps need to discuss, redo, and rethink. On July 10th, the full moon in Capricorn, your 6th house completes the chapter started in late December when we had a new moon in Capricorn, so worth reflecting on late December. and brings change to your house of work, health, and service. So professionally, you're maybe completing a heavy project, you're maybe letting go of a job or letting go of an old position and welcoming a new opportunity. You may be resolving some kind of conflict at work with a colleague if you had a disagreement, perhaps. This being the house of health also reads as getting over a health issue, finding a better doctor, starting a ritual kind of strategy around taking care of your health that is good for you. So changing habits, maybe even changes in the lives of your pets are likely with this full moon because it is the house of pets. Mercury spends the month in Leo. The sun enters Leo on July 22nd. We have the moon here on the 24th, and Mercury goes retrograde between July 18th and August 11th. Suggesting a need to rethink your speech, your look, your maybe even like the way you present yourself, the way you show up in the world. You may find yourself rethinking your style, your skincare, your fashion choices, changing your hair. Watch out for doing reckless, really dramatic changes that you can't turn back on. Maybe having some old conversations about who you are and reflecting back on the past and thinking of what did inspire you when you were a kid, or what kind of, it could be anything from like reflecting on a difficult situation and healing to perhaps embracing a new sort of chapter of yourself and discovering a new purpose. And that's, I think, also what the new moon on July 24th is about. It does, however, oppose Pluto in the 7th, so your personal desires will be complicated, to say the least, by your partner's life and their goals and maybe the crisis that they're going through. A relationship might be going through crisis, and that might affect your personal growth. So some kind of opportunities to transform, heal, and release things in relationships, I see. Highly recommend my exalted moon candle. This is Moon in Taurus, your 10th house of career. Very soothing, good for manifesting, relaxing, good for fertility and peace. Find it on my website, register for my natal astrology course, book your reading, or pick up a horoscope subscription to get monthly predictions sent to you or talk to you about every month. If you are a Virgo rising, June introduced some new ideals or opportunities in your house of friendships, networks, hopes, and dreams as Jupiter entered Cancer. However, you may have dealt with some restrictions, limitations when it comes to debts and finances, and maybe agreements with other people that slowed you down, right? Like you're like, I'm going to start this podcast, but I actually have, I promised someone else that I will do it with them. So now I need to clear the air and sort of free myself from things. Mars finally left Leo, your 12th house, and entered Virgo on June 17th, giving you more energy, more ability to take action instead of dealing with all the maybe like inner chatter. There was a lot of focus on your houses of home and family with the full moon in Sagittarius and Gemini transits, as well as opportunities to travel, date someone foreign, or maybe expand your vision with Venus in Taurus. So in July, Mars continues to be in Virgo, your first house, until August 6th. This gives you courage. It gives you energy to start new projects, to exercise, to sort of be more entrepreneurial on many levels, to be direct, right? If somebody is trying to fight with you or trying to fight with people you love, you will not let them get away with it. Jupiter is now separating from the squares to Saturn and Neptune in your 11th house, urging you to expand your social network. Expect opportunities to meet new people, to maybe go to conferences, speak in public. There may be social media growth and opportunities to shine on social media, and new dreams that this represents, new like opportunities to take on maybe some kind of new role in a nonprofit or in a other social context. Venus enters your 10th house of career on July 4th and until July 30th, blesses you with better relationships with coworkers, support of authority figures like your bosses, maybe opportunities to sort of take more joy and more pleasure in the work that you're doing. Uranus enters Gemini, your 10th house. This is the biggest transit of the month for sure, as Uranus enters your house of career on July 7th. So this month, it comes in and it stays until November 7th. And then it takes a bit of a breather, goes retrograde, returns to Taurus, and finally enters Gemini for the next 7 years in April 2026. But this is an introduction of a new professional chapter. This is a major, revolutionary, freeing, innovative energy in your career life. So if you've been feeling stagnant, if you've been feeling stuck, that is going to change, whether by your own volition or because someone else is making you do certain things. That you tell me. What do you think this will be? So opportunities to be more independent professionally, starting a business or choosing a role that lets you travel, that lets you maybe lead projects, pioneer certain things, be that source of light, that revolutionary when it comes to work, right? Maybe you open, you open a class for people with disabilities in your local, theater or school or something like that. Like bringing attention to people that are unfortunate, underprivileged, mistreated, especially with the fact that Uranus will harmoniously aspect Pluto in your 6th house. And Pluto in the 6th house is all about sort of helping people that maybe don't have their own voice, right? So you may find yourself finding sort of opportunities to express things. You'll definitely, I think, over the course of the next 7 years, you will feel a strong need for independence and discovery and freedom. So we'll see how this manifests. I would really be curious to know if you already have any ideas. Neptune and Saturn go retrograde in Aries, your 8th house. Neptune on the 4th, Saturn on the 13th of July. And so they go from Aries into Pisces, right? The final accord of Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. So there is a sense of introspection here in your 8th house, which is all about debts, loans, agreements, dependencies. And then it goes into your house of relationships, partnerships. So for those who are single, it could be about clearing old wounds and healing old wounds, right? And realizing how you can embrace better relationships, how you can welcome better relationships, romantically or in business or any other kinds of relationships. If let's say you're engaged or you're married or you're in a relationship with someone, I think this offers you a chance to examine your agreements around money and how you share, how you take care of responsibilities and finances in your relationship. Maybe find a way to clear the air and discuss some difficult things that might involve money or old wounds or some kind of, old karma that you're still working through that you want to share with your partner. Speaking of dealing with romance, the full moon in Capricorn on July 10th highlights your house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, and children. And it completes the chapter started on December 30th with the new moon in Capricorn and offers you a chance to solidify a connection, romantic, creative partnership, and make it official, move it to the next level. Maybe you don't like it anymore or you feel like the partnership has run its course. So this could also be a chance to let that go. Creative developments, completion of a creative project, changes in the life of the child, changes around pregnancy, getting pregnant, giving birth, all of that is possible. Mercury spends the month in Leo, your 12th house. The sun enters as well on the 22nd. And Mercury goes retrograde between July 18th and August 11th, offering you a chance to review, sort of sit quietly, be more introspective, and rethink your bad habits. This will shine light on your blind spots. So anything that doesn't serve you, anything that's self-defeating, maybe it's scrolling on your phone too long, maybe it's not drinking enough water, maybe it's dating people that are disrespectful and not good for you. Whatever it might be, Mercury retrograde will offer you a chance to dig it up, sort it out, realize what's not good, right? Becoming more connected to your spirituality and maybe more clear on what is of value to you and what is worth pursuing is also highlighted. And the new moon on July 24th may offer you just an opportunity to do it, just sort of this chance to connect with your, true desires and maybe explore passions that you haven't brought into consciousness, because next month we have the new moon in Virgo, in your first house of identity. And so that would be, we actually have a new moon followed by an eclipse in Virgo. So there's like a lot going on in your sector of identity with South Node there too. So this is like this very like cleansing energy and very important energy. If you need some emotional help through it all, Moon in Cancer 3, my favorite candle of all times, highly recommend. These always sell out, so it's not just my favorite candle. Pick it up on my website. If you want a personal reading, you can also get a horoscope subscription on there, or book a natal chart, year ahead, solar return. Solar return is great to do around your birthday. And register for my course. It begins in September. My beautiful Libra risings, June brought a lot of focus to your professional life, your dreams, and your desire for public recognition as Jupiter entered Cancer, your 10th house. However, the energy could have been heavy when it comes to relationships, partnerships, agreements, other people, either because they were going through difficult times, distracting you from personal growth, or because there was just some kind of like heaviness and a need to move through obstacles together, with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Mars continued to encourage you to network and be visible and work on group projects. And then after June 17th, it entered Virgo, highlighted your need for peace and quiet and alone time, and calling you to like get away, travel, or meditate, do yoga, things like that. There was also a lot of action in your financial sector. Maybe other people were generous with you. You got some rewards, bonuses, and opportunities to travel, study, take some exams, finish some writing projects were also on offer with Gemini transits and the full moon in Sagittarius. So in July, Mars continues to travel through Virgo, your 12th house, calling you to work in solitude. You perhaps prefer to exercise on your own, or maybe, problem solve things on your own. There is like some kind of really kind of private energy at this point. You're maybe also healing from something. You're maybe exploring spiritual questions, learning astrology. Speaking of that, join my astrology course. It begins in September. But some type of like inner healing, inner clarification might be going on. Watch out for being too critical of yourself, and it can also bring up some issues with sleep. I have a candle for that, Moon in Cancer 3, really great for sleep and relaxation. Oils can actually be really lovely for that too. So make sure you're exercising, moving your body, and sort of taking time to like balance everything with the busy mind that Mars in the 12th house might present. Jupiter is now more free to do its thing in your 10th house, so professional opportunities might be on offer, opportunities to grow, to start new projects. You're maybe slowly but surely investing into your passions, building your following, so to speak. Venus enters Gemini, your 9th house, on July 4th, and until July 30th encourages you to date foreign people, to travel, to get away, to explore, learn a foreign language, open yourself up to new ideas. It's very flirtatious, chatty, open-minded type of energy. The biggest shift of the month is Uranus entering Gemini, your 9th house, on July 7th. This year for 4 months, next year for 7 years. So a major shift. Uranus in the 9th house seem like a good match because Uranus is about innovation and revolution and change, and 9th house is all about education, big trips, adventures, learning or teaching, right? So you may discover a new passion. I am here for you if you want to join my astrology course. Okay, I'll stop. But, as a Libra rising myself, I am teaching a course. So if you're interested in astrology and want to take it to the next level, do not hesitate to join us. So opening yourself up to new interests, new beliefs. There may be some kind of religious awakening in your life or spiritual awakening. You read a Buddhist book and you're like, this speaks so deeply to my heart. I'm gonna join a Buddhist church and go on meditations every week. Opportunities to travel and maybe even sudden travel might come into your life with this. And sudden also twists and turns when it comes to travel. Travel appearing, maybe travel plans falling through. Uranus can definitely speed up this sector of your chart. Teachers coming into your life that are also very eye-opening and tend to encourage unique ways of thinking. And there may be some legal matters that come out of the blue and suddenly, but overall this should be quite exciting, especially because Uranus in Gemini trines Pluto in your 5th house. So it could shift your opinion even when it comes to parenthood, right? Or it could encourage you to connect with your passions and learn about them and investigate them, invest into them. And also just even change your attitude towards having more fun in your life. My boyfriend has been talking a lot about needing to be more chill and try to, because we both have a lot of Virgo planets between him and I, 3 each. So he's talking about, trying to chill. And in my head, I don't think I'm registering it realistically. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm Virgo, anxious. But maybe there's something to that, right? Maybe in July, I will listen to him and be like, yeah, okay, I hear you. Neptune and Saturn go retrograde in Aries, moving from Aries into Pisces, your 7th into 6th houses. So this feels like a need to rethink an agreement you maybe just recently made, to rethink a relationship. If you've jumped into something really fast, if you've agreed to something, Saturn goes retrograde and you're like, well, actually, I wasn't prepared for it. So let's backtrack. Let's say you started a business partnership with someone and you were like, okay, this is going to be the best agreement ever. And I think we really match. And then you find out that they actually have 10 other projects and they can devote full attention to you. So the retrograde is very much this chance to review relationships, set better boundaries, rethink even what you want in relationships before you commit to a partnership with someone else. The full moon in Capricorn, your 4th house, on July 10th completes the chapter started on December 30th, 2024, when we had the new moon in Capricorn, and brings shifts to your living situation. So there may be a chance to move, there may be a chance to sell a home, buy property, remodel property, renovate a property. Your family relationship might be in the spotlight. Maybe there are some kind of changes there. A sibling having a baby, a parent moving, and of course, opportunities to heal and examine childhood wounds are quite likely too. Mercury spends the month in Leo, your 11th house, and goes retrograde on July 18th, and until August 11th, it will encourage transformations, changes, rethinking in your friendships. You may notice it through other people. It might not be about you going through some kind of rethinking process. You've done a lot of it earlier this year, I think, with Venus and Mars retrogrades, but it might show up in a friend going through a difficult time. And maybe as they are going through this difficult time, they are saying things that affect you and you feel like they're not being respectful. So maybe there is like a chance to be supportive for them, but yet advocate for yourself and be like, well, let's figure it out together, but let's make sure we're not hurting each other's feelings. Group projects may need to be readjusted. Social media strategy may need to be rethought. Any other kind of like alliances may be in a position of like renegotiating, rethinking. The new moon on July 24th opposes Pluto in your 5th house, and I think suggests a need to find ways to shine while still addressing, well, like Pluto in the 5th house could bring up some power struggles, some tensions with children or with your romantic partner, or even like a creative crisis. But the new moon in Leo urges you to take that and to still work through it, and to maybe, you know, use what you know to help other people. So it's like an opportunity to lead in a crisis, I think, and to find ways to move through a difficult situation with courage. Please share how this resonates. How are you doing? How was your June? What was your June like? And if you're looking for a personal reading or you want to get a horoscope subscription, check out my website, and you can also register for my natal astrology course on there. If you are a Scorpio rising, June offered you opportunities to study, to look at your next adventure with Jupiter entering Cancer, your 9th house. Maybe you've looked into travel or thought about expanding your life somehow, while Saturn and Neptune were creating roadblocks in the 6th house of work, health, and service. So increasing your workload, bringing health issues, making you deal with real life concerns, right? Mars in Leo urged professional actions, and then later it entered Virgo, offering you a chance to be more sort of socially active and maybe helping you to advocate for other people. It could have also stirred some friction with friends or encourage you to like volunteer and get involved in group projects. Venus helped your romantic sector, and there was a lot of focus, I think, on finances as well with Gemini and Sagittarius transits. So in July, Mars, your chart ruler, is in Virgo, your 11th house, until August 6th. And you are active, right? You're social, you're meeting more people, you're maybe having guests over, you're going out more, you're speaking in public, maybe networking more. Mars in the 11th could suggest fighting with friends, like I said already, or it could suggest fighting on behalf of friends and being a leader, being like the person who organizes everything, maybe speaks up to your director of your school on behalf of your class, something like that. Jupiter is now more free to encourage you to grow through education, travel, writing, publishing your work, even like taking on some either legal work or legal cases, as Jupiter is like free now or moving away from Saturn and Neptune, which is quite nice. Venus enters Gemini, your 8th house of debts, loans, taxes, inheritance, insurance payments, on July 4th, and until July 30th, she will offer you more support from other people. Your partner's finances might increase, or your parents might be more generous with you. Opportunities to sort of pay off some debts and figure out some financial matters. Maybe you're doing your tax estimates, payments, and things like that might be highlighted here. The biggest transit of the month is definitely Uranus entering Gemini on July 7th, and it will stay here until November 7th this year. And then next year it will enter for 7 years. This is huge, huge. How high can my voice go? It's a really major transit for sure, as Uranus enters your 8th house. So financially, right? Changes financially. This is interesting because it could suggest that there are maybe some twists and turns in your personal finances. There may be some transformations in your partner's finances. Uranus will bring a sense of liberation. If there are any reliances you have on other people, dependencies you have on other people that are actually holding you back, it will offer you a chance to clear that. Uranus, you know, this is not going to happen to a lot of people, but with like Uranus in the 8th, trining Pluto in your 4th house, if you have an ailing family member, this might symbolize a family member passing away and you getting a sudden influx of money in the shape of an inheritance, for sure. For others, this could be a time of healing as you discover people you can rely on and you discover people you don't want to rely on so that you build your own independence. So it could be quite powerful. The good news is it's leaving your 7th house, right? Goodbye, Uranus in the 7th, almost done. You will have a little bit of like final accords between November and April. So if you've dealt with so much turmoil and twists and changes in your relationships, so good. Finally done, right? How has your relationship life been, by the way? Maybe you've met some exciting people since Uranus first went into Taurus in 2018, but I'd be curious to hear that. Neptune and Saturn go retrograde. Neptune on the 4th, Saturn on the 13th of the month in your 6th house, moving from the 6th into the 5th. And this feels to me, sorry. This feels like a need. Did I get it? I feel like my voice still sounds a little scratchy. This feels like an opportunity to rethink your health and figure out better routines, boundaries, protocols that can allow you to have more fun, that can allow you to spend more time with your child, that can allow you to date, right? Sometimes the retrograde in the 6th is an opportunity to rethink your schedule, rethink your health, rethink your work life. And then as it goes back into your 5th, you are trying to figure out how to have more creative freedom, easier flow, more childlike wonder, more opportunities to connect with your partner or spend time with your child, or just spend time doing things that are pleasurable to you and that are fun to you. On July 10th, we have a full moon in Capricorn, your 3rd house. This completes the chapter started in late December with a new moon in Capricorn and offers you a chance to declutter both your outer environment and your inner environment in terms of like let go of some thought patterns that are unhealthy, set some boundaries in your relationships, rethink your schedule. You know, 3rd house represents siblings and extended family, and so the full moon might bring a change into the life of the sibling or a change in your relationship. Maybe you're moving and the relationship transforms because you're no longer going to be so close to each other, or you're discussing something, right? The full moon in the 3rd might also bring a completion to an education project, a writing project, a blog, and things like that. Perhaps you've been studying something for the last 6 months and you take an exam and you get the certification. Mercury spends the month in Leo, your 10th house of career, status, and public life, and begins its retrograde on July 18th. And so until August 11th, you may encounter some kind of professional confusion, people giving you confusing instructions, or there might be miscommunications with bosses, technological issues, right? You have software you use and the system breaks down and you now have to figure out how to do work while you wait for things to be fixed. Even a sense of like readjustment in terms of what you want to do for work and what is interesting to you. As this questioning is happening, the new moon on July 24th offers you a chance to welcome new beginnings. It opposes Pluto in the 4th, so highlights a need to balance your professional aspirations with your home life and your home duties and maybe desire to be at home, or even family members being somewhat oppressive and difficult and doubtful, right? So do it anyways. Just make sure you're expressing your Leo courage through the compassionate, helping other people lens. If you need help with these transits, Moon in Cancer 3, very soothing, very supporting, very lovely. You can find it at anastasiadoesastrology.com. On there, you can also book a personal reading, get my horoscope subscription, or register for my natal astrology course. It begins in September. If you are a beautiful Sagittarius rising, June brought a positive shift of your chart ruler entering Cancer. It went into your 8th house, highlighting your desire to join energy, money, resources with other people. Start new partnerships, get married, move in with your significant other, even heal, things like that. Free yourself from debts on many levels. However, Jupiter squared Saturn and Neptune in the 5th house, and maybe you had to deal with delays, restrictions, duties, responsibilities, slowdowns. Let's say you wanted to pay off a debt, but then Saturn and Neptune entering Aries brought an unexpected doctor's bill for your child. So delays, not complete, things will not happen, especially in July as Jupiter starts to put some distance between himself, itself, and Aries planets. You will likely notice rewards, bonuses, student loan forgiveness, maybe your partner's finances improving, other people showing their generosity, helping you kind of navigate things. Let's see. Mars entered Virgo, your 10th house, on June 17th, and it spends the entirety of July in Virgo. So you are very professionally driven. You are willing to take risks. You're willing to take on a fight. Hopefully it's a fight for a better professional situation, or you're just like, let's say you're a lawyer. Mars in the 10th house might be like the period when you're going to court and handling a heavier workload. But it's also a really great transit for starting a business, for defending someone or something, for exploring careers that are uniform, militant type of careers, like being a fitness trainer, police officer, a firefighter, a doctor. You might be like leaning into the direction of those. Okay, so Venus enters Gemini, your 7th house, on July 4th, and until July 30th helps you date. So if you're single, this is a really benevolent time to put yourself out there, to connect with people, to go to maybe more networking events, or, dust off your dating profile online if you enjoy online dating. If you're in a relationship, this could be a really kind of exciting, maybe more harmonious period in your relationship. However, do not relax too much. Uranus enters Gemini and everything changes. This is the biggest transit of July for sure. So Uranus enters Gemini, your 7th house, on July 7th, stays here until November 7th. 777. This year, 4 months. Next year, for 7 years. And this is a powerful, transformative energy in your house of relationships and partnerships. It could be you that is driven to date unique people, that is driven to be in maybe like some kind of open relationship, or try some kind of unusual relationship situation. This is also your business partnerships. This is also your agreements, like your lease or any other contract you have, maybe even work agreement, right? Maybe you're thinking of traveling the world and you'll be working a little bit here, a little bit there, and just having a different work life. What is really likely here is that it's going to show up through a partner. There might be something happening in the partner's life. And it's less, it applies less to you if you're single and you're not in a business partnership. But in the next 7 years, you might encounter a partner or a business partner. So Uranus in the 7th might show up through the partner. And they might be going through some kind of change. They might be seeking freedom and looking for ways to be independent and self-reliant. For some reason, you may feel like you know, maybe it's a little hard to know where things are going. There may be some trial and error in relationships, some ups and downs as your partner or you figure out like a new relationship dynamic. Watch out sticking to the old ways of doing things. Try to be more open-minded. And this could, again, apply both to your romantic life and to your business life. What I like is Uranus will be trining Pluto in your third house, not this month, but in the near future. And so there's maybe like a really innovative, exciting energy when it comes to business opportunities and like starting new things. Neptune goes retrograde on July 4th. Saturn follows on the 13th. And they move from Aries, your 5th house, into Pisces, your 4th house. Again, the energy of relationships, right? So don't get too worried about this. It doesn't need to be like, oh, relationship is going to end or something difficult is going to happen. But there is some kind of a need for maybe like raw honesty and transformation and change. And so Neptune and Saturn retrograding in the 5th will encourage you to rethink some of the commitments you made. Maybe you've decided to move with your partner to another country and now you're like, oh, wait, actually, my mom is moving to a new home and she will need me to help her schedule like plumbers and other appointments, right? So especially as Saturn and Neptune move from your 5th house of romance and pleasure into the 4th house. And so there is this sense of like maybe some duties that take you back to home and family. There might also be a need to examine your past and look at your sort of core beliefs around relationships and around like home and family dynamics and how things that you've grown up believing maybe still affect your romantic life and still sort of show up in your everyday life. The full moon in Capricorn, your 2nd house on July 10th, brings change to your house of money and values. It's raining outside. I can hear the rain. Sort of nice. It's nice to be inside when it rains. Makes me have less FOMO. Do you guys have FOMO? Is it just me? No, I know a lot of people have it. I think most of us have it. So the full moon, July 10th, completes the chapter started on December 30th with a new moon in Capricorn and offers you a chance to pay off a debt, rethink your finances, make a big purchase. Maybe you're asking for a raise or you're changing jobs, right? And something is transforming in your finances. It can also suggest a priorities shift because we have Jupiter, your chart ruler, that just went into your 8th house. And so there's strong focus on other people and relating with other people and getting along with other people. And so this full moon suggests a need to figure out what is important to you so you don't sacrifice your values in the process, because it's all good and well to get along with other people and have relationships. We are social creatures, but you want to make sure that you're not like putting yourself in a position that you will not enjoy. Mercury stays in Leo all month and it goes retrograde on July 18th and until August 11th. Encourages change and rethinking, review in your 9th house of education, travel, writing, legal matters, publishing, and faith. So a spiritual rethinking, maybe you're feeling drawn to read more about religion, spirituality, even diving more into astrology. Join my natal astrology course. It begins in September. Some kind of search and travel towards having like a spiritual practice in your life, I can see. Redoing some of the legal work that maybe you've done. It's not just raining. We've got thunder. This is new, right? Normally you hear like New York sounds in my videos. Hopefully now you can hear some thundering. So so like opportunities to rethink legal matters, maybe even travel back to places you once were, or make some adjustments to your travel plans. Be careful, like if you're traveling at this time, double check the timings, allow extra travel time, get all the papers in order. So that could be important. And education, right? Education matters as well. Either going back to school or taking some exams, having to like redo something is likely. The new moon on July 24th opposes Pluto in the 3rd and suggests the need to like maybe deal with some ideological disagreements, maybe figure out some scheduling matters, maybe like a need to unite your larger vision with your existing schedule responsibilities, even relationships with siblings and scheduling concerns. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website. You can also register for my natal astrology course. Highly recommend my Moon in Cancer 3 candle, the most soothing, the most relaxing, the loveliest of them all. For the lovely Capricorn rising, Jupiter entered Cancer in June, bringing new energy into your house of relationships, right? So could it have been an opportunity to date someone new or partner up with someone new? Sorry, I'm just adjusting my dress because I realized that you can't see it, but it needs to be adjusted. So Jupiter encouraged you to date, commit, start business partnerships, welcome advice of others. As Saturn and Neptune brought roadblocks, delays, restrictions, maybe some heavy energy involving home, family, living situation, right? Like a new relationship, but a family member is being needs too much of your attention, so you're trying to balance everything, maybe even having to reschedule some things. Mars traveled from Leo into Virgo, encouraging you to handle debts, pay off maybe insurance payments, or sort of clear karmic dependencies. And then when it went into your 9th house, it encouraged you to go out and travel and explore. This month, it stays in Virgo all month. So you have the energy to adventure. Like 9th house has always been the house of like long journeys, right? People going to Mecca or some kind of important place to them, versus 3rd house is your local stomping ground. 9th house, exactly opposite from the 3rd, is like a big type of adventure. So Mars is encouraging you to study, to travel, to maybe write or publish your work, maybe even take on some kind of legal matter, a legal battle that you found yourself involved in. I like that in July, Jupiter puts some distance and moves away, puts some distance between itself and planets in Aries. So it's more free to bless you with lucky and supportive alliances, better relationships. This will show up through relationships of all kinds, right? If you're single, not interested in dating, you may meet people who give you good financial advice or offer you help with your business or something like that. Like really good quality people for the next year. If you're single and you want to date, this is great for dating. If you're in a relationship, you may notice your partner's life improving. If it is, you can be like, it's because of me, because Jupiter is in my 7th house, so I'm making it happen. The only, like Moon in Cancer 3 could boost it even more, but this energy is already pretty good on its own. Venus enters Gemini, your 6th house of work, health, and service on July 4th, stays here until July 30th. The rain is picking up, crazy pouring rain. So Venus is in your 6th house, which could be good for improving your professional relationships. There might be a lot of pleasure in hanging out with colleagues. You're maybe going out with them more. You may be dating someone you work with, and you're looking to find joy in your everyday responsibilities. That may show up as going to a spa, getting a massage, listening to music when you do laundry, do things that are sort of fun so that mundane doesn't feel as mundane. The biggest shift of the month occurs as Uranus enters the same house of Gemini on July 7th and stays here until November 7th. Next year, it will come in for 6 years, but this year we get a preview, 6 or 7 years, depending on how you look at it. So Uranus in the 6th house is a revolutionary energy in your everyday life. Maybe your habits change. You used to have the same routine every day, wake up, have breakfast, exercise. Uranus will shake it up. It will be like, here are curveballs, things are changing, do things differently. There may be some kind of enlightening energy and discovery when it comes to health matters. You like find a passion in health or yoga or fitness, right? Your work life might be changing with non-traditional work hours or unconventional job, or starting your own business, becoming like a healer or a coach or some kind of maybe more stimulating, more interesting type of work. Uranus will next year make harmonious aspects to Pluto in your 2nd house, which is also a sign of professional transformation. Do you guys know what this is? Can you tell already what you think this will be? Uranus is hard to predict. Uranus is all about, alternative ways of doing things. So alternative healing as well. Either because you're healing yourself or you're becoming an alternative healer. Maybe you've always done Reiki on the side and now you become a full-time Reiki healer, right? Pets is ruled by the 6th house. You might get some like really crazy pet, like a dolphin. Don't get a dolphin as a pet, but some type of unique, like turtle or something. You get like a pet that is unusual. Neptune and Saturn go retrograde in Aries, your 4th house, and move into Pisces. Neptune stations retrograde on July 4th, Saturn on July 13th. And so for the next 5 months or so, they will travel from the 4th into the 3rd. And so this could reveal something that needs to be done to the structures of your home or to the structures of your childhood, your psyche, or to the family dynamics, right? Some kind of conversations that need to happen, some type of renovation projects that need to be brought into your life, some kind of childhood wound that still affects you that you haven't fully healed from. A lot of times when planets are direct, we tend to just sort of go about things and just act, and then when they go retrograde, we actually, a lot of times this is like a more closer to what we're meant to be doing energy, because it gives us a moment of stillness. It gives us a pause, right? So a chance to like rethink whether you live in the right place, whether you're happy with your home, what needs to change in your family, what do you need to speak up about as they transition into the 3rd house, even how your everyday life is impacted by little things or big things that happen in your childhood. All of that could be on your mind presently in July. July 10th, we have a full moon in Capricorn. Your 1st house completes the chapter started in late December 2024 and offers you a chance to transform your health. Again, health, right? Commit to more well-being. Look at yourself in relationships, right? Jupiter is bringing all this focus to your house of relationships. How is that showing up for you, by the way? Are you noticing it yet? And so it's like this opportunity to take care of yourself, take care of business, heal yourself, focus on yourself before you embrace a new relationship or a new possibility or a new connection. Mercury spends the month in Leo, your 8th house, and goes retrograde between July 18th and August 11th. This is a chance to pay off some debts. This could be the time of sudden bills coming to your attention that you forgot about, that you didn't address. Be very mindful in terms of spending money at this point, because sometimes we feel like we have money and then Mercury retrograde comes in and there is this bill that is more pressing and urgent and we need to handle that. 8th house is not just financial debts, it's all kinds of agreements with other people. So I'm thinking with this Mercury being in Leo and Saturn retrograding in Aries together with Neptune, right? Like, what are your agreements and expectations like in your family? And which ones of them maybe need to be adjusted and sort of talked about through a different lens, or any kind of other dependencies where other people depend on you, you depend on them. Maybe you're not feeling fully happy with the way things are. The retrograde will offer you a chance to rethink. And then the new moon on July 24th is, I think, a new beginning that comes out of this insight and realization, and an opportunity to unite your values and your goals with those of others. Highly recommend my Moon in Cancer 3 candle. It falls in your 7th house of relationships. It boosts Jupiter even more. It soothes your soul, and it could be highly supportive and lovely. Pick it up on my website, register for my natal astrology course. It begins in September, or book a personal reading if you'd like a personal advice. If you are an Aquarius rising, June brought some new opportunities, but also tension as Jupiter entered Cancer, your 6th house, encouraging new beginnings in work, around health, service to other people, and maybe just overall expansion of your everyday life. Then Saturn and Neptune squared Jupiter, rather Jupiter squared them from the 3rd house, suggesting restrictions, delays, frustrations involving education, maybe some logistical matters, scheduling issues, siblings, neighbors. Maybe you dealt with some kind of tensions there. The good news is in July, Jupiter starts to move away from that mess and starts to be free to do its own thing, right? So Jupiter will keep encouraging you to grow, to take on new projects, to maybe connect with your love for health, fitness, nutrition, dive into that more, grow. It can even encourage you to get a pet or to connect with some animals, volunteer, give back, things like that. Mars spent some time in Leo in June and then entered Virgo, highlighting your houses of relationships, partnerships, agreements, financial exchanges. It spends the rest of the month in July, spends in Virgo, your 8th house. Mars in the 8th could be powerful for working with other people. It can encourage you to be proactive and assertive and, fight for other people. 8th house is a very emotional, spiritual place. So sometimes you may actually find yourself being a therapist for other people, helping them deal with their issues. Venus enters Gemini, your 5th house of romance, pleasure, and parenthood on July 4th. And until July 30th, she's in her house Joy, helping you date, helping you create, have fun. It's a good time to go out and dance or hike or sing, whatever it is that is playful to you and joyful to you. It's a very personal house. The biggest shift of the month happens as Uranus enters Gemini, the same house, on July 7th. We'll stay here until November 7th this year, and then next year we'll come to stay for almost 7 years. So this is Uranus in the 5th house, and it's very eye-opening, and it's very interesting when it comes to your passions, right? It can bring sudden interest in science, astrology, mysteries, tarot, crystals, whatever it might be, computers, technology, things like that. If you are interested in astrology, I am teaching a course in September, so definitely join me as we discover the gifts that are locked up in your chart, helping you live a happier life. So breakthroughs in terms of your interests, new ideas, new experiences. Because 5th house is connected... Sorry, it's not anything. It's like a little fluff passing me by. Because 5th house is connected with romance, this can also be the time when there are new opportunities to date, right? And date people that are unconventional, unique kind of people. And Uranus can speed things up. It can bring sudden developments, sudden encounter, sudden relationship, sudden pregnancy, sudden breakup, hopefully only good things. What's really quite nice is that Uranus and Gemini will trine Pluto in Aquarius. So from your 5th house into your 1st house. And Pluto in the 1st wants you to step into your power. It wants you to show the world the true you, connect with your soul's purpose, right? To not be afraid to take on a fight. And could you be fighting on behalf of your child, right? 5th house, Uranus. Could you be fighting for people to have a good time? Maybe you open a business that encourages people to be more connected with themselves. Also, I think this unapologetic self-discovery and opportunities to be your true self might be activated here. Freedom, sexually as well. Desire to experiment, desire to have a good time, desire to explore, right? Gemini is the most it's a very dual sign. It's a very hard to pin down sign. So some of you might be exploring with dating people of a different gender you normally date. You might suddenly be like, this is something I've always been interested in, so let me give it a try. But I think it's just a time to have a good time and to be more playful and maybe be more eccentric, but also free in how you express yourself. Neptune and Saturn go retrograde in Aries, your 3rd house, and move back into Pisces. Neptune on July 4th begins its retrograde, Saturn on the 13th of the month. And here you have a need to maybe rethink some of the structures in your life. 3rd house is a very logistical place. It's the place where you drive your car, you get your coffee, you do your laundry, you get your groceries. So Saturn going retrograde might pull you out of this structured flow of your life and encourage you to rethink how you handle things. It goes from your 3rd into the 2nd, so it also connects to your house of skills and your knowledge with your house of money and values. So maybe a certain reorientation is necessary in terms of how you make money and how you use your knowledge. So some of you maybe will need to take some exams and update your license and study and sort of take care of your knowledge. Maybe looking within in terms of your patterns of thought and realizing how you might be slowing yourself down and what kind of self-defeating or doubtful or negative Saturnian attitudes that are, how they are affecting your life. Maybe having to rethink your finances and how you spend money, what you spend money on is also a possibility. Please let me know how this resonates. On July 10th, we have a full moon in Capricorn, your 12th house. It completes the chapter started on December 30th, 2024 with a new moon in Capricorn and offers you a chance to, similarly to these retrogrades, let go of your self-defeating tendencies. Set better boundaries around your mental health. Figure out what kind of energy you're letting in versus what kind of energy you shouldn't let in. This could be about watching less news or watching news at different times of day instead of picking up your phone and making it the first thing you look at in the morning, which stresses you out progressively throughout the day. Rethinking your habits around sleep, right? Around rest, things like that. There could also be a completion of a spiritual project, something you've been working on behind the scenes, and maybe a sense of recognition of your passions that you want to introduce into your life more. Again, if you want to study astrology, I'm teaching a course. Mercury spends the month in Leo, your 7th house of relationships, raising the volume on your conversations with your partners, your significant other, bringing more opportunities to date. It goes retrograde on July 18th, and until August 11th, it will encourage you to review some of the things. So old fights might be coming up, old disagreements that you thought you were done with are being brought to your attention again. Old relationships you thought you were done with are coming back into your vision. Dealing with exes, dealing with having to renegotiate something, ask for a better, maybe even pay, or figure out some kind of better agreement is likely. Amidst all of that, there's also a new moon in Leo, which opposes Pluto in the first house. So a lot of fine-tuning, a lot of negotiating and talking about like your goals, your values, your ideals, and those of your partner. If you need help with the more difficult transits of this month, Moon in Cancer is really lovely. Highly recommend. And you can pick it up at anastasia.astrology.com. On there, you can also book a reading or register for my course. If you are the beautiful Pisces rising, June brought Jupiter into your 5th house, encouraged you to have fun, to take more joy in life, to connect with your passions, to be more playful and childlike, spend more time with children, or even work on having a child. However, Saturn and Neptune in the 2nd house were involved in a square with Jupiter, so there could have been some restrictions, delays, financial matters, maybe, friction around money, maybe some conflicts of values that slowed you down. Mars was in Leo early in the month, encouraging you to work, take care of your health, and then it entered Virgo on June 17th. So in July, Mars spends the entire month in Virgo, continuing that energy from June 17th, encouraging you to date. If you're single, you will be more determined, more strategic, more structured when it comes to dating. Mars in Virgo might date with a spreadsheet, with a clear list of pros and cons. So lean into this energy maybe, right? It doesn't have to be a bad thing if you have a clear vision of what you want and what you don't want, but watch out for being too critical. So being kind of nitpicky with your partner maybe isn't great. You will enjoy active dates. You will enjoy sort of active encounters with people. If you have a business, this is like a really powerful energy for your business because you're more active and good at like hustling. Jupiter puts some distance between itself and planets in Aries and starts to be free to bring you joy and fun. And again, really good for dating, really good for connecting with that inner childlike energy, really good for getting pregnant or, being pregnant if that is something that you're working through. I think there was a Pisces rising just recently that commented that she just found out she was pregnant, which is very Jupiterian, right? A gift of Jupiter. Venus enters Gemini, your 4th house of home, family, living situation on July 4th. And until July 30th, offers you more ease in the home, better relationships with family members, more interest in beautifying your surroundings, right? Maybe you add some color, splashes of color in your home design, or you bring some plants or, things like that. You're maybe also creating some kind of like comfy but very intellectual corners in your house, like a reading nook where you can hang out. The biggest transit of the month, the one that changes everything, is Uranus entering Gemini. So the same house, home, family, living situation, this year between July 7th, November 7th, next year for 6-7 years almost. So this changes your home situation, right? It doesn't have to happen immediately. You might start to feel it immediately. And if you're already in this kind of mindset, let me know how it's manifesting for you. But what it might do is change what home is for you. Change your approach to home, right? It's the home becomes less about a place and more about an attitude. So for some of you, it can bring a move, and it can happen relatively suddenly too. An opportunity to move, an opportunity to maybe reinvent, redesign your home completely, buying a van or a bus and traveling through the country, living in a bus or traveling through Europe. Things might be very sort of, unorthodox, which is very Uranian. Uranus will be trining Pluto in your 12th house, which is also an energy of like letting go of the old. So maybe breakthroughs when it comes to healing, breakthroughs when it comes to looking at the past, right? And figuring out, realizing that you're not your past and you're not defined by your childhood. So maybe it's like an opportunity to heal and let go of something that doesn't serve you anymore. Sudden developments in the family's life as well. Maybe, you know, family member comes to live with you, you come to live with them. There is like a new child in the family, something else. There might be like sort of faster turnarounds. I do recommend my Moon in Cancer 3 candle. It definitely is grounding and it can help sort of, or Moon in Taurus, exalted moon. Both of these are good. So they could sort of help you feel stable amidst the potential Uranian chaos. Neptune and Saturn go retrograde. Neptune on the 4th, Saturn on the 13th of the month, moving from Aries into Pisces. So this is a chance to slow down and to set some better boundaries, but also ask yourself important questions. Specifically around like what is of value to me and what is worth my time, what is worth spending money on or spending energy on. Because the retrograde begins in your 2nd house of money and values, and then it goes into your 1st house of identity, right? So the two get tied together. There may be some opportunities to rethink your spending, even potentially return something that you recently bought or spent on because you realize that it was excessive and you don't need it. Opportunities to invest into yourself, opportunities to make a big purchase or to consolidate your finances, right? With Saturn here, you can actually become more serious and more somber and more practical when it comes to finances. But it's interesting because it's the last, you know, Neptune and Saturn will enter in Pisces for the last time. So there is this interesting kind of dynamic of figuring out what's of value to you and how has your life changed in the last like 3 years or 2 years since March 2023 when Saturn first entered Pisces, and what kind of final touches you still need to do to take care of your health, to be your true self, to connect with your goals, like what needs to happen financially, physically, and maybe even mentally. The full moon on July 10th brings completion to your 11th house of friendships, networks, hopes, and dreams. It also completes the chapter started in late December with a new moon in Capricorn, and suggests a change in the life of your friend, maybe a completion of a group project. Maybe you've been thinking about volunteering and you finally go volunteer. Maybe you finish a project and you're getting ready to kind of go for a new project, something that you've been dreaming about but not letting yourself. Having to connect with your, I think, aspirations is important here. There's a lot of, the focus on your health continues this month. It was important last month too. Mercury spends the entire month in Leo and it goes retrograde on July 18th. And until August 11th offers you a chance to rethink your habits. Maybe you're letting go of some habits or reviewing, right? Like you don't have to let go of drinking coffee, but maybe you need to start to drink a little less coffee, right? Maybe there is some kind of adjustments that need to be made. Professionally, maybe you've been working too much and now you realize that that's not the way to live life, especially with that Jupiter in your 5th house of pleasure. Seeing doctors, going back to doctors that you once saw, or doing the procedures that you thought you maybe can postpone. So some kind of like old energy coming back to your attention. Reviewing old projects, right? Dealing with something from the past. Even maybe reconnecting with some old colleagues, people you used to work with. Like they invite you out and you go have lunch with them is likely. There's a new moon here on July 24th, which is also a sign that like amidst this retrograde, you're getting a chance to make some adjustments and make choices that are healthy for you. Highly recommend. My Exalted Moon candle, like I said, find it on my website, book a reading on there, register for my course. It begins in September and it will be life-changing. So I hope you enjoyed this horoscope. Please share how June affected you. Have you noticed that sort of friction between Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune? Is it activating completely different parts of your life, or are they intertwined and connected? I mean, they would probably be connected, but they don't have to be. And again, any personal questions, you know where to find me. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good July.